This is C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. There's going to be a topic today, and it's directly on about the retailer, or soon to be no longer retailer, known as Dress Barn. I will read you what I posted about no less than a week ago, and that is with Dress Barn soon to be out of the retail landscape, what would that do to the same retailers that are even much larger outside of Sears, Macy's, and J.C.P.H.A, to name a few? What would that mean with the rest of the moderate-sized and mid-sized and small chain retailers to start? And it says, it is true that when Mervyn's went under and off the retail map, not all, if any, other retailers were negatively affected. Yet aside from that, would it show different with the choice that the corporate office of Dress Barn decided to without other options that they had from in front of them to remain in business, or would it be that they do not want to deal with the constant back and forth of the current directional base and levels of the foot traffic and sales profit margins, where they do not want to worry about the built up cost and of each location that is on a lease, where they would not have to renew the lease of each location that each store is at, even at current. And it says, it is thought that the popularity of a woman's clothing store, only directed to women's fashions and not expanding to men's and children's fashions, in what would be a good start in a family fashions plus it could be also that they have noticed that their choices in fashions patterns is more than out of style and out of date compared to the fashions and styles of the clothing that many other clothing retailers have. And it also could be the cost in stock and inventory has been more expensive for Dress Barn to handle and afford, along with the constant change of the competitive retail market. And the question is, do you agree with what is said? If at all, what are your thoughts on and about it? And generally, that is the general question. What is your thought about it? The basic fact is, with the fact that Dress Barn will be completely off the retail landscape in a matter of weeks, if not about a month and a half, because I'm sure they started right now, in fact. And as all people know, that Dress Barn will take time to close every one of their stores, because it takes time to see what they can sell, to what they can get rid of, in the sense of marking down the prices, as Woolworths did and many other stores did when they were about to close a number of their stores. although that's what Kmart's doing still, and also that's what Sears is doing, even with the number of the stores that they haven't decided to close quite yet. Um, and of course, it's for Sears and for Sears outside of Kmart, it may not be noticeable. But Dress Barn, in hindsight, is already in the process of seeing how much they could sell and how quickly can they sell it. And although sometimes that there are a number of retailers that also try to sell their fixtures, be that of course the shelving and various other things too, right? Not very many people go for that unless you're trying to run a retail business mostly, or if you want to, if you think you can use it in your garages or what have you, or even sheds for that matter. But the one thing is that Chico's closed a number of their stores, and Chico's is for the older generation of women. That of course that was about a few months or about a year and a half or so ago. The one thing is that okay, if Dress Barn, I'm figuring if Dress Barn did expand their inventory to men's as well as children's fashions, besides women's fashions, do you think they would have a better chance to stay in business? Do you think they'd have a better base of foot traffic? Because there's a lot of women's fashion clothing stores besides your famous 5 and 10 shops and of course our 5 and 10 shops aren't really that procured anymore. But of course there was closed time. There's a number of other stores that are female clothing shops. But the basic fact is that Dress Barn is not really in the running of to stay in the competitive market. That's the general thought, from what I gather, of why they're closing all of their stores to wipe the company off the retail map, and be that, of course, the retail landscape. If they scaled back just as much as J.C.Penney's did many years ago, they could rebuild after they expand their inventory with men's and children's besides women's fashions, and get someone that actually knows today's fashions, not several years before type of fashions. Sports Authority went out of business because, of course, they were treated like Mervyn's was essentially being passed through to many different companies and whatnot. And of course, that didn't really help Sports Authority at all. But do you think that Sears and Kmart and possibly J.C.Penney's could learn anything from it, especially the Gap? We have said that the Gap should separate themselves from Banana Republic, from Old Navy altogether, and the other ones altogether, right? That way they would be only visual as a standalone store chain, and they can, if they needed to, they could cut down to a moderate percentage of stores of the Gap by itself and restructure the business from within, but the most logical way. And then once they get enough to where they're able to build up enough of the Gap stores again, then they'd be able to reconnect eventually with the Banana Republic after connecting with Old Navy. Then the other two would be able to the other ones would be able to be connected with the Gap, say by roughly 2030 or 2029, depending if Gap can last that long. Um, but there is one particular person, if I may add, that has the base of J.C.Penney, the history of J.C.Penney to start with, and many other retailers wrong. And her name is Titanic. She has a number of listings of stores that she shows on her video by number. Um, that she has a complete illogical and totally false information of each and every store that she lists, especially when it comes to Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, and J.C. Penney's and Macy's and many others, and even Sears and whatnot else, and of course that doesn't make a person look good, now does it? But we have commented on her page saying that on her video feed of that particular video that she's feeding out false information in the sense of helping her out, and that is that she is to come join our team, and maybe she'll have more accurate information the more we collaborate, talk amongst each other here when it comes to um, any particular type of information that we want to put out there for the general public, as I am doing now, and as I have done, even via Facebook on the C.R.P.H.A Business Advocate page. Of course, the one thing is that before I do any video that I've done, even the C.R.P.H.A humanitarian and business and the other C.R.P.H.A videos that I have done and will be doing, I always wait to make sure that I have enough information to put out there before I do any video. It is commonplace though that many people put out videos thinking that they got the correct, accurate information when they find out they don't. Because not too long ago, for example, I watched that same video from Titanic, Miss Titanic, if I may say, that she had a false information when it came to the business at so the business information she mentioned about Dollar Tree to start with and Family Dollar. Someone gave me a thumbs up on that because obviously they knew that I was right. But the one thing also is that I helped her out by giving her a link to a particular page that was done by I believe it was a Sunday morning CBS program. When they did shall we say, the almanac segment of the program, when it came to the beginnings of J.C. Penney's at the time, and what made it so big and all this other stuff, right? And they even mentioned when the actual founder, James Cash Penney, when he passed away, which was around 1970, in the 1970s essentially. And I can tell you the way J.C. Penney's is being operated right now, he wouldn't be too happy. Because the way that he worked it was very genius. He joined in with a um, number of other people in the business world, as it were, and when it was under the name of Golden Rule, and eventually he bought his partners out. and he then opened a number of other retail stores under the Golden Rule aspect, and he also later on opened a number of stores under his name, which of course he didn't put James Cash, he put J.C. Penney. Thereby he grew the stores from that point, and of course along the way he could have easily, although it wasn't really mentioned, he could have easily either closed the Golden Rule stores or renamed them and resized them. One of the two could have easily happened. And it wasn't because of the non-performing stores, or because the fact of the first number of J.C. Penney stores dominated the foot traffic of the Golden Rule stores at the time, or even for its time in the beginning. But like I said, he could have easily done one of the two, as I mentioned earlier. But who's to say what? Unless you were there at the time when he actually close the stores of Golden Rule or resize them and rename it. Like I said, if we were in that timeline, we'd be able to see that and know, and we'd be able to say, okay, so this is what he did, But we don't. Only our grandparents or great grandparents might know. But the one other thing is that simply that the Golden Rule stores, he used the same concept. Anyways, he used the same concept in the sense that he used the conceptual phrase Golden Rule to make a number of golden rules for in what made the company as big as it was. Be that, of course, as big as it became, essentially. And even after he passed, it started getting bigger and bigger, right? But here's the one thing now. There is such a word as there's actually really there's such a phrase really in the sense that being overconfident, which many companies, including Sears, have become. And of course, it is also said that with Sears, in the case of Sears, the now the person that was known as the CEO stepped down to a different position. He is the reason for the decline of this year's Kmart situation that's happening even currently. And aside from the fact that they connected themselves with Amazon. One thing, Sears, you need to realize that you ain't gonna be able to separate yourself from Amazon as easy as you may think, because, as I said in one of my other business advocate videos of C.R.P.H.A, is that Toys R Us at one point tried to separate themselves from Amazon unsuccessfully. They tried to do that in the base of court. They lost. It is true that possibly that Sears is possibly done for. Thereby also they're pulling down Kmart along with it. And of course, Sebastian Kresge may be turning in his grave as well as the three founders that I mentioned of J.C.Penney and of Sears Roebuck and of Kmart. All of them might be turning in their grave right about now. I use that for a good reason, because they worked their asses off to make the companies what they were. And yet, Sears doesn't realize that they could be another Amazon in today's day and age. But they need to procure their investments in one way. They could easily do this, and so can J.C.Penney's, and so can Kmart, and so can the Gap, and everything, and every other company that's about to go downhill outside of Dress Barn. Because obviously Dress Barn's corporate office has made a final decision, and they're working on it, as I said, now, all across the board. But JCPenney's, Sears, Kmart, and also Macy's. Because Macy's is also another one that's essentially about to decline ever so gradually. And that is that they could easily separate themselves from the NYSE. The NYSE is the New York Stock Exchange. For those who are not too familiar with that is. The New York Stock Exchange is one of many things of why they have investors. If they separate themselves temporarily, and this temporarily may seem like a long path, a long wait for the investors, but it's needed. But it's definitely needed. And what is needed, hold on one second. And why it's needed is because, okay, here's the one thing. As I mentioned in one of my other videos again, that of C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate, is that In-N-Out Burger is one of many franchises, and if not the only franchise, that a fast food franchise that is not part of the NYSE. They're not going public in another way of putting it. Smart move there. Very smart move. Very, very, very smart move. The one thing is, and the reason I say that is because they're able to expand. And they may even do out McDonald's eventually. They may even do out Jack in the Box and Burger King and Carl's Jr.'s and many others, including Wendy's. Because those are connected with the NYSE. In-N-Out is not. So is Taco Bell. So is Pizza Hut. So is every other fast food franchise out there. Outside of In-N-Out. The only ones that are not truly yet connected with the NYSE are the small mom and pop ones. Now, do you really think that there's going to be any, shall we say, light at the end of the tunnel the way things are going with JCPenney's, Sears, Kmart, and Macy's, The Gap, and several others? Or do you think they need to take my advice in the sense of separating themselves from the NYSE to start with, and do not be declared as a public company, thereby follow the same attributes as In-N-Out, in the sense that they would be able to stay in business, they'd be able to reacclimate their investments and put a percentage of the investments in each part of the company, including each one of the stores, even if they do decide to close a certain small number of stores. And Victoria's Secret could do the same thing. Chico's could do the same thing. Sports Authority could have done the same thing. Mervyn's could have done the same thing. You see where I'm going? Now, with this, They could easily build up enough revenue and investments within the company itself without any worries of the NYSE and any worries of having to procure and make the investors happy. And then right when they get big back, and when they get built back up again and more secure, like they were even in the 1970s and 80s, then and not worry so much about the millennials in the aspect of spending, then they would easily be able to put their companies back the way they were. But the one thing is, the NYSE might deny them because of such. But there, see, that's another one that they may be worried about, because that can happen. I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm saying it could be one of many things that they're worried about. Seems to be, even with Sears, that they're more worried about pulling out of the NYSE than they are staying in business. Little do they know is that once they're out of business, then the NYSE does not exist within their purview. Thereby, they're worrying about practic nonsense, non-reality crap. Okay. The one thing is also that you and many others who may have small businesses and may not have small businesses, and or also be that you may be a consumer of any number of the retailers, that even the ones that I have not mentioned. But yet, get this though, the same decline usually could happen to your 99-cent stores and many others. I mean, the one thing is, but outside of that, as I was about to say, is that you, consumer or small business owner, or if you're about to be or thinking about to be a small business owner, you got to know a lot of things, and I can help you. But the one thing is, with the consumers are the ones that are helping these companies stay in business. But at along the same lines, though, it doesn't seem to matter that no matter how much they they get, a good large percentage is gone already within about less than a day, less than a week. And then I'd say a percentage of it would go to the corporate office, to the leasing aspects of paying off the lease, to the inventory cost, to the investors, to the employees and employers. Very little, if any, left. Very. And yes, there are times that they are still, even Target, for example, is still donating a good large sum um, to some things like the United Way and many others, right? But here's the thing: they don't have to invest that large amount all the time, as they have for the companies that are doing this and that have done this. They could donate a small to moderate amount and use the rest to help build up their business to where where there's not much of a struggle, if any, even if it's a moderate to mid-sized level of a struggle. But also, here's the other part of it, though, too. Their executives within the corporate office need to realize, in order to keep the company in business, and in order to keep your damn jobs in the corporate office of these retailers and the other retailers that I did not mention, you need to scale back on worrying about if you're going to get a raise or worrying about if you're going to get a pay hike, because a pay hike should not be that important. Yeah, things are getting expensive nowadays, but the one thing is that what's more important, keeping a job, keeping the company open, keeping the stores open to where you can keep your job, or filling your pockets. Because the only way you can truly the only way the corporate execs can fill their pockets with their basic income to survive to start with, and to help their families survive and make it through every week, day, month, and year, and century, is if they have a job. Is if the person in question has a job, in order for that to be possible. But if they keep on saying, "No, I'm gonna do my pocket. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep on getting more raises, more advances, any way I can," right? Okay, you should be out of the company because you're not really thinking of what can help you get to that point is by keeping that company open and strong without it struggling. Because if you're profiting off of the struggle, you be seen in a favorable way, even in the business world. You need to be seen in a favorable way. Even the former CEO of Sears-Kmart, even the current CEO of Sears-Kmart, it goes along the same lines. So that's one of many things you need to, each corporate exec and corporate CEO and president needs to take into account and more than consideration and thought. Because if the company goes down to the points of non-existence, then you don't have a job, and it'll be harder for you to get a job if you were only favoring you. Because there are many companies out there that want to favor not only themselves but the company equally, in which would easily make the company grow. And when you do that, you can easily see that the general public could see that, and thereby more people come into your stores, different locations, even if it's just one location, or however many small numbers of locations, right? That in itself helps a company become profitable, and also to where they can expand even more. Without that, you got shit. It was thought that in order to have a successful business, it goes with the general public. And if they keep on coming in to buy what you have in stock in your inventory aspects as well, right? That is true to a point. It's gotten much, much, much more different than that simple logic. The one thing is that it goes, even with the first large numbers of foot traffic, and even a moderate to maybe offset type of foot traffic, that you need to really account for. Because the offset could be very small to moderate to minimal and large. And mostly the large ones are usually on birthdays special events, weddings, various other things, right? And also holidays. Although at the same time, it's true what they say is holidays have become way too stinking commercial. Um, or basically they lost, or many people have lost sight of the real true meaning. That's a sad part of it. But the outside of that, though, the basic of a small to moderate and large business of a chain store or franchise or whatever, you need to really take what I said into account in thought, because without the company being in business, you got nothing. You will not. You'll be out in the street, not able to pay your mortgage, not able to pay your bills, not able to pay your car insurance, not able to pay your child support, not able to pay for food, not able to pay for shit. That goes out to the corporate execs and business execs and the CEO and CEOs and the presidents of each and every company. Large, small, moderate, and medium-sized chain store and chain companies. The one thing also with that, if the Gap took my advice, if J.C. Penney's and Sears Kmart, and if many others, including Macy's, took my advice, we may see a big, huge positive turnaround. Of course, it may take time, but as all things do. Or if they decide not to take my advice, we may continue to see a decline. The decline is not very good. That's the truth. We may even see a decline in women's fashion stores only. We even may see a decline in the men's warehouse even more so, like we did in the mid-early years of the 1990s and the millennium. We may even see a decline to where they turn out like Mervyn's, uh, Payless, drugstores. I can go on. We don't want to see that. So again, Dress Barn. I urge you, the corporate office of Dress Barn. I urge you to reconsider your closing number of stores. Yeah, you can downscale, but I urge you to stay in business and widen your varieties of fashions, not only for women but also for men and children. Be that a family-oriented clothing store. If you get this and it's already been done, the whole thing's done and written off. Oh well. But if it isn't, I urge you to take my advice, along with what I've said about for the other companies to take my advice on too. Because the more companies, even what's known as the brick and mortar stores, doesn't matter if it's due to a so-called online competitor. The online competitor is connected with NYSE. They can right now stay with the NYSE all they want, but eventually they will find that they will decline. Eventually, I mean, how they're already closing. They already started closing a number of their factory stores, and that's Amazon who has done that. That was not too long ago, actually. The other part of it is that if the brick and mortar stores, the ones I mentioned, along with the ones I did not mention, if they took my advice, even after coming across this video, believe me, You will be surprised as time goes on the positive change that may come. But if you have to do it in the most logical of ways, and you have to take the logical steps at the right point in time. Don't rush things. Don't push yourself too hard. This is C.R.P.H.A. If you want to know more, please let me know. And if you guys want to join my page of C.R.P.H.A. Business and get more accurate information, and even if Miss Titanic wants to join my page and get more accurate information than what she's put out in the video that I even commented and shared with her a video of J.C.Penney. Among the fact that I got a thumbs up on the aspect that she gave false information on the Dollar Tree, Family Dollar situation. Um, I urge, and I will be looking for her as well as many others who want to join my page, and those who have come across this video and have learned a lot of interesting information. If not so interesting, you may find my other videos interesting of any one of my C.R.P.H.A. videos to start with. Um, if you have any questions, please let me know. But also those who have come across my page, and even for the first or second time, please be sure to like and subscribe, and press that and click that little bell too, and you'll be notified of more videos besides of C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate, but also many other of my videos. This is C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. Have a good day, and please stay safe. And happy Memorial Day. And believe me, we will be praying for those who were lost and with no name, especially this Memorial Day. For our troops who have served and who are still serving, even for our veterans. Thank you for your service.